So our mission today really is to show you the geometry of your own path. We're mapping the alignment of three absolutely vital circles: skill your craft, basically, then drive, which is that inner motivation, and finally, market demand.
Yeah, those three.
Because we see so many people, maybe even you listening right now, working incredibly hard, putting in crazy hours, but still feeling confused or invisible even.
Stuck.
Exactly. And that often happens because you're spinning inside just one or maybe two of those circles. You're just perpetually kind of misaligned.
And on their own, each circle is just potential. Latent energy, maybe.
Right.
Skill without demand, that's basically a hobby.
Right.
Drive without skill, that's just frantic, often wasted effort. And demand without the drive to meet it, well, that's just a missed opportunity sitting there.
Makes sense.
But when these three forces manage to perfectly overlap, when they merge, that's when they transform into genuine, predictable power. So the goal here is pretty simple. Stop waiting around for luck and start engineering that inevitability using this clear geometry.
Okay, let's define that target then, this sweet spot you call the center point, where all three merge, the zone of inevitability. What does that alignment actually do for someone? What does it achieve?
Well, it creates a state where success stops being this thing you have to constantly chase, this uphill battle.
Wait, the endless grind.
Exactly. And it starts becoming a force that actually pulls you forward. You stop having to generate all the momentum yourself and you start kind of capturing it, riding the wave.
Okay.
And what's really fascinating about this zone is the distinct role each circle plays in keeping that balance, that perfect equilibrium.
All right, so break it down for us. What are the three specific functions when they're aligned?
Okay. So when you're operating in that zone, your skill provides the precision. It makes sure every bit of effort is targeted, effective, hits the mark.
Got it.
Your internal drive, that provides the endurance. That's the fuel, right?
Okay.
Keeps the engine running long after the initial excitement wears off.
The long haul.
And critically, market demand gives the whole thing purpose. It tells you where to aim all that skill and drive. So the core principle that jumps out from the sources is really powerful. Alignment just beats intensity every time.
Alignment beats intensity. Say more about that.
Well, you can run incredibly fast, right? Just burn yourself out sprinting in a straight line. But if you're misaligned, even by just a few degrees, you end up miles away from where you want it to be.
Oh, okay.
Running aligned is always more effective than just running faster.
That really reframes the whole hustle culture thing, doesn't it? It's not just about maximum effort.
No.
It's about maximum direction and sustainability, too.
Okay, let's dig into the first cornerstone then, the one providing that precision. Circle 1, skill or craft.
Right. The circle of skill. This is your craft, your expertise, the talents that actually make you useful, valuable in the marketplace. Now, the common misunderstanding here is thinking mastery means being the absolute number one best in the world at some tiny, narrow specialty, you know, the 10,000-hour guru of widget polishing or whatever. And I have to push back on that a bit based on what we read. I mean, the idea of getting to the top 1% of any major skill, that sounds, well, exhausting and maybe not realistic for everyone listening. Is the goal truly that level of specialization, or are the sources arguing for something else, like strategic competence across a few related fields?
That is the absolute crucial distinction, yes. Mastery today isn't really about being the best in the world at one single thing anymore. It's about leveraging what we might call the hybrid advantage.
Hybrid advantage, right?
It means being uniquely competent, maybe top 5%, let's say, at the intersection of 2 or 3 abilities that very few other people combine. The modern world doesn't reward narrow expertise nearly as much as it rewards the ability to connect, two useful but different dots.
So it's more about combining skills, creating your own unique Venn diagram that carves out your spot. Could you give us a concrete example? What do these rare blends actually look like in practice?
Absolutely. The sources kept highlighting the value of blending, say, technical skills with softer skills. So, for instance, a data scientist who is also a really exceptional public speaker.
Oh, I see that.
The ability to pull deep insights from data, that's skill 1, pretty common among data scientists. But the ability to translate that complex insight into a compelling, understandable story for leaders who aren't techie, that's skill 2, presentation, storytelling. That combination is rare.
Right.
Or think about maybe a video editor who also has a deep understanding of marketing psychology. The individual skills aren't unique, but put them together. You create this unique position, sort of functional weapon, if you will.
A weapon in terms of leverage, yeah. So the strategy for someone listening isn't necessarily spend 10 years becoming world-class at X, but maybe aim to be in the top, say, 1 to 5% in a couple of useful complementary areas, and then combine them into a unique angle.
That combination is precisely what creates irreplaceability. It ensures your efforts have precision because you're operating in this narrow niche that you've essentially defined yourself. You're playing a game that's almost designed for your specific strengths.
Okay, so skill gives you that unique angle, the precision. But, precision doesn't mean much if you run out of gas halfway there.
Exactly.
Which brings us to maybe the tougher part, the long-term problem.
Yeah.
How do you sustain that unique blend over the 5, 10, maybe 20 years it takes for it to become truly valuable? And that's where the invisible engine comes in. Circle 2, drive, intrinsic motivation. This is the circle providing the endurance.
Yeah, and we really need to contrast this with, the popular buzzwords. Passion. Passion is just a spark. It gets you going.
Right, the initial excitement.
Drive or intrinsic motivation, that's the engine. That's the internal force that keeps you going when the applause stops, when sales are flat, when progress feels like it's slowed to a crawl. It requires a discipline that has to outlast that first emotional rush.
I found the source's description of this part really honest. They talk about mastery, art, business, involving these long deserts of monotony. I think that's such a powerful image, and one we often just ignore. We love celebrating the sprint, the breakthrough moment.
Yeah, the highlight reel.
But we hardly ever talk about the drought years that come before it.
That's so true. Real success, the kind that fits this geometric model, it's fundamentally built on what you can tolerate, not just what makes you excited at the start. If you can't survive the repetitive, often invisible, often thankless years, which is like 95% of the time for any worthwhile pursuit, let's be honest.
Yeah, probably.
Then you just won't make it to that zone of inevitability.
But how do we psychologically get through those deserts? I mean, what can you actually do to build that endurance? Did the sources offer any mechanisms?
Yeah, they suggested that pure willpower, just gritting your teeth, isn't really sustainable long term.
Right, that burns out too.
It does. We seem to survive those deserts by learning to shift our focus, not obsessing over the distant, exciting finish line, but focusing much more on the process itself, on what we could call minimum viable progress.
Minimum viable progress. Okay, explain that.
It's basically the smallest daily step forward you can actually recognize, measure, and successfully complete even when you feel totally drained.
Ah, so tiny wins.
Tiny, measurable wins. You're trying to stack them up day after day after day. And that small, measurable progress is what actually feeds intrinsic motivation over the long haul, not the huge, distant outcome.
Yeah.
So drive, in this sense, it's this quiet, private, relentless force. It lets you keep pushing through the boredom, practicing when you're tired, maybe even finding some satisfaction in that repetition, even when you're working in total obscurity.
So the real difference between, say, the winners and the wanderers isn't just talent, it's stamina. Drive is like the internal battery keeping things going without needing constant external jumps, constant validation.
Exactly right. It's the ability to keep plugging away, even when you feel like you're producing, more faith than results. And this is so crucial because without that endurance, even the most unique, precise skill set just burns out long before it gets a chance to meet the market demand.
Which brings us perfectly to that final circle.
Yeah.
One that, as you said, demands maybe the most humility. Circle 3, market demand. This circle provides the purpose.
Yeah, this is the external reality check, the world's appetite for whatever it is you offer. And this circle, honestly, is where so many brilliant, driven people stumble.
Why of that?
Because they forget, or maybe ignore, that the market doesn't actually care about their personal dream or their passion or their backstory. The market only cares about its own needs, your amazing skill and your incredible drive. They have to solve someone else's problem to matter.
So the shift for a professional is turning the focus completely outward. Stop looking in the mirror, start looking at the crowd, essentially.
That's a great way to put it. Professionals shift from asking, what unique, cool thing do I want to make, to asking, what persistent, expensive problem do people actually need solved right now? The market is, well, it's a harsh validator. It will completely ignore products, services, ideas that don't solve a real problem or create tangible value for it. You have to subordinate your own creative desires to some extent to the reality of the ecosystem you want to play in.
Okay, that sounds practical, but maybe hard to actually do. How do you tune into that demand beyond just, seeing what sells, looking at clicks or purchases? Are there more subtle signals the sources point to?
Yeah, one of the most overlooked signals of demand is actually pain. You can tune into market demand really effectively by studying competitor failures, not just their successes.
Oh, interesting. Look at what doesn't work.
Exactly. Look for the common pain points, the things users complain about again and again in niche forums, online communities, review sections. Those subtle, repeated complaints, the things people are genuinely frustrated by, maybe even willing to pay to make go away. Those are the whispers of unmet latent demand.
So demand is kind of the permission slip for your career or business to even exist.
Precisely.
And we find those whispers by listening to where the current options are letting people down.
You got it. It focuses your creativity, it makes sure your unique skills are actually useful, and your high motivation becomes valuable. This circle forces everything to be grounded in external reality. It gives your efforts that critical direction, that purpose. I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
You could have the best map ever made, skill, and the most reliable car imaginable, drive. But if that map points to a destination nobody wants to go to, lack of demand?
You've achieved nothing. Wasted trip.
Exactly. A whole lot of effort, beautifully executed, going absolutely nowhere useful.
Okay, we've defined the components. The system seems clear. Skill provides precision. Drive gives endurance. Demand offers purpose. Now, paint the picture. What does it actually feel like when all three finally merge? When you hit that zone of inevitability and the geometry clicks into place.
Oh, it's transformative,
Yeah.
really. First, you start to experience massive momentum, like real momentum. Success starts pulling you forward. Opportunities begin finding you, often because you're now solving an important problem with this unique combination of skills and relentless energy. You're not constantly chasing anymore.
And what about that constant need for validation we see everywhere now, the sort of begging for likes and approval?
You stop needing to beg for validation because the alignment itself naturally attracts it. Your work develops a kind of magnetic quality. People are drawn to the utility you offer, the unique way you do it, and the sheer consistency of your output. And second, you achieve this profound sense of irreplaceability because your specific alignment, that rare blend of skills fueled by relentless drive, aimed right at a proven market need, is so unique, you effectively become a category of one.
You're the only key that fits that particular lock.
That's a perfect analogy. Yeah, it's like discovering you're the only person on Earth who can solve this one specific high-value Rubik's Cube. The world kind of stops looking for alternatives because you are the optimized solution for that problem.
Wow.
And this alignment, it ensures that your impact starts to compound over time. Growth isn't linear anymore. It starts feeling exponential. This whole geometry, when it locks in, it resolves that awful feeling of being stuck or confused or invisible. Progress starts to feel less like effort and more like, well, gravity.
That is a really stunning outcome. A career path that stops feeling like a high-stakes gamble every single day and starts feeling like predictable, powerful geometry.
It is. And the central lesson, the thing the sources kept hammering home, is that alignment beats intensity. It just does. You can hustle like crazy for 10 years, but if you're pointed in the wrong direction, you achieve very little of substance.
So as you're processing this deep dive, maybe the question to ask yourself is this: which circle are you currently neglecting? Are you really dedicating time to improving your craft, building that unique skill blend?
Or maybe.
Or are you letting your discipline, your stamina, kind of lapse when things get monotonous, when the initial excitement fades?
Yeah. Or are you failing to tune your signal? Are you so focused inward, building something you find fascinating, that you've forgotten to check if the world actually needs it?
It's a tough self-assessment.
It can be. But success, the sustainable kind, isn't really found in just running faster than everyone else. It's found in running aligned. When those three circles, skill, drive, and demand, finally lock together, your life stops feeling like such a gamble. The trajectory becomes predictable, powerful, and ultimately pretty much inevitable.